Okay, we're in this volume 3. We're at part 4, story 8, Brave Young Prince. Okay. There was at least one person on Saul's side who was not discouraged, and it was Jonathan. He knew all about the 30,000 chariots and the 6,000 horsemen the Philistines had, and how few were the men who had stayed by his father. Yet he was sure God could still save Israel if he would. One day, without saying a word to his father, he slipped out of the camp with his armor-bearer and made his way through the rocky pass towards the army of the Philistines. "Come," he said to the armor-bearer, "it that the may be that the Lord will work with us, for there is no restraint to the Lord to save by many or by a few." That was the grand thing for him to say, and God loves young people with such faith and courage. Together the two men crept from boulder to boulder until they were almost within shouting distance of the Philistine outpost on top of a steep cliff. As the armor-bearer was wondering what Jonathan would do next, the young prince whispered to him, We will let them see us, and if they say, 'Wait till we come to you,' then we will not go to them. But if they say, 'Come up to us,' then we will go up, for the Lord will deliver them into our hands. And this shall be a sign to us." So they stepped out from behind the boulder and shouted to the men above them. "Look," cried a Philistine soldier with a sneer, "a Hebrew comes forth out of the holes where they had been hiding themselves." Seeing there were but two young men in the valley, they said, "Come to us, and we will show you a thing." This was a sign to Jonathan that had been waiting for. "Come up after me," he said to the armor-bearer, as he started to climb up to top of the cliff. The Philistines were taken by surprise, for they never expected two men to fight, not after climbing all the way up a steep cliff. But they didn't know Jonathan or his armor-bearer. Drawing their swords, the two men struck down about 20 men. Just at that moment, in the midst of firing, there was a great earthquake, and the very mountains seemed to tremble. Panic seized the Philistines, and they began to fight one another. But this time, Saul's watchmen at Gilboa had noticed that something had gone wrong in the camp of the Philistines. The most the mighty host seemed to be melting away as if they had went on beating down one another. Courage came back to the little band of 600 men as quickly as they could, they ran towards the struggling mass of humanity, where every man's sword was against his fellow. More and more Israelites came out of their hiding places and joined the battle. When the Philistines saw them coming, they started to run, and the Israelites won a very great battle. So the Lord saved Israel that day, though the faith of a brave and bravery of Jonathan and his armor bearer. But Saul had done another foolish thing, which spoiled everything. For some unknown reason, he said to his soldiers that as they went to battle, "Cursed be the man who eats." Who eats. That's the thing. And then here is him climbing up the mountain. Yeah, this is a foolish thing Saul did. He said, "Cursed be the man who eats any food until evening." So hungry as they were, the soldiers ate nothing all day. Some of them, as they pursued the Philistines, came to the forest and found a large honeycomb upon the ground, perhaps in a hollow tree. How good it looked! But they didn't dare to touch it. At least Saul should put them to death. At that moment, Jonathan came on the scene and caught sight of the honey. Since he had not heard what his father ordered not to eat, he went right ahead and ate some of the honey. There'll be trouble. There will be trouble about this, warned one of the men who saw him do it. But Jonathan laughed it off. He didn't see why people shouldn't eat on the day like this. Just see how much better I am for eating, he said jokingly, remarking that the victory might have been very much bigger if only everyone else had eaten some honey too. Trouble came soon enough. Though nobody told Saul what Jonathan had done, rumors reached him that somebody had eaten food that day, and he swore that he would find out who it was. So angrily did he become that someone had disobeyed him, that he quite that forgot this was a day of triumph, when everyone should be happy and thankful. He vowed that he would kill the culprit, even if it be his own son. Oh, he didn't even know it was. Then he called all his men together and told them that they would be on one side and he and Jonathan on the other side. After that, he ordered lots to be cast between the two sides. This was done, and you can imagine his surprise when the lot fell upon himself and Jonathan. You could have heard a pin drop at that moment. Then Saul ordered, "Cast lots between me and Jonathan, my son." Again the lots were cast, and Jonathan was taken. Now Saul was really in a difficult spot. "What have you done?" he asked sternly, while someone looked on held it while everyone looking on held his breath. "I did but taste a little honey," said Jonathan meekly, and lo, I must die. His pride hurt. Saul said all angrily, God do so, and more also, for thou hast surely died, for thou shalt surely die, Jonathan. Then a glorious thing happened. A roar of protest rose for the people. No, they cried, shall Jonathan die who hath wrought this great salvation to Israel? God forbid. As the Lord liveth, there shall no one hair on his head fall to the ground, for he hath wrought with God this day. So the people rescued Jonathan, and then has a picture of them, him getting angry and everything. Okay, and let me see. Yep, that was the end of story 8. And we're going to take a break, and then we'll go to the next story. And then we just got the next story and the next story, and then we'll start on